war. It is midday in Oslo, 3 a.m. in Los Angeles. I'm Monita Rajpal. This is World One, live from London. The European Union has been awarded the Nobel Prize for Peace. It was chosen over 230 other nominees to win the most well-known of the Nobel Prizes. The Norwegian Nobel Committee says the EU won for its long-term role in uniting the continent. The committee urged the people of Europe to secure what the EU has achieved. It gave the EU credit for rebuilding the region after the Second World War and for helping former communist states after the fall of the Berlin Wall. It is seen as a rather left-field choice for an award that's usually given to individuals. So why the EU? Jonathan Mann joins us now from CNN Center with his expertise on that. John?
Well, Monita, the United Nations has received the prize many times. The International Committee of the Red Cross has received it. Doctors Without Borders. There's a long list.
According to us from CNN Center. We want to bring you reaction from the region. CNN's Donna Magni joins us now live in Berlin. And Donna, a lot of people will be saying the timing is certainly a bit questionable, specifically when we look at what's happening within the region, within the continent, economically.
Well, yes, the one thing that we all associate with the EU right now is the word crisis.
Donna Magni there in Berlin. Let's get a little bit more on the Nobel Committee's decision. We're joined now from Oslo by the chair of the committee and Secretary of the Council of Europe, Torbjørn Jagland. Mr. Jagland, thank you very much for being with us. We heard the President of the European Commission, José Manuel Barroso, saying that this sends an important message, he said, to Europe, that the EU is precious and should be cherished. What kind of a message do you think this Peace Prize sends the world?
Exactly what President Barroso says, namely that we want to remind all Europeans about what we have achieved on this continent and that we should not let it...
What do you tell those countries that have that are undergoing some really extreme austerity measures that have been imposed by the European Union, imposed by some of the stronger member states that say, well, wait a minute, we're not sensing any of that peace or any of that richness that the European Union is said to have?
I can understand those who are saying that, but at the same time...
Very much for your time. And do stay with CNN throughout the day here for more on the Nobel announcement. For now, we want to bring you up to date on the other stories that we're also following here on World One. Britain says 7 of its Marines have been arrested on suspicion of murder. The government says it is in connection to an incident that took place last year after a clash with an insurgent and that no civilians were involved. CNN's Nema El-Bagir is following the story. She joins us now live outside the Ministry of Defense in London. Nema, this is interesting because they're talking about this involves an insurgent, not a civilian.
Yes, Monita, this incident is really about whether or not these Marines currently...
All right, Nema, thank you very much for that. Nema El-Bagir reporting to us there from London. You are watching World One. The U.S. vice presidential candidates met up for a pre-election debate late Thursday. Running for vice president of the United States, two very different sets of ideas. They met Thursday night for their one and only debate, and while Vice President Joe Biden and his Republican challenger Paul Ryan came out smiling, they also came out swinging. Well, the debate was a study in contrasts from foreign policy to the economy. CNN's Brianna Keeler was at the debate in Danville, Kentucky, and she joins us now live with the showdown. Brianna.
Hi there, Monita. I want to get right to some of the sound that we have so you can see these two candidates.
Brianna, thank you for that. Brianna Keeler there in Danville, Kentucky. Well, much of Thursday night's debate centered on the economy, and that's something that matters to people all over the world, not just in the U.S. Well, CNN set up a mic in the Spanish capital, Madrid, to hear what people there would say to the U.S. presidential candidates. From Madrid. This is World One, live from London. The European Union has been awarded the 2012 Nobel Peace Prize. The announcement was made earlier in the Norwegian capital, Oslo. The Nobel Committee said the EU had helped to create a continent of peace in a part of the world previously racked by war. It also knows what it's like to be named the winner of the Peace Prize is Matti Ahtisaari, the former president of Finland. He was given the honor in 2008 for helping to resolve a number of international conflicts. He's been the UN Special Envoy for Kosovo and the Horn of Africa and played a significant role in helping Namibia gain independence. He joins us. Well, we want to get some reaction on behalf of the European Union itself to the Peace Prize announcement. Richard Corbett is an advisor to Herman Van Rompuy. He's the president of the European Council. He joins us now on the line from Brussels. Mr. Corbett, thank you very much for joining us. What is the reaction of the European Council for this prestigious win?
Well, the Council itself has not yet had time to meet and collectively respond, but...
Let's switch gears now. It has been exactly a decade since Islamist extremists detonated 2 bombs in a Bali nightclub, but 10 years later, emotional wounds are still fresh. And that night, more than 200 people were killed, including 88 Australians. They were remembered today at a memorial service in Bali. Australian Channel Network 10's Hugh Remington was there.
2 countries, 1 united front.
See what newspapers in Australia and in Indonesia are saying about it. Let's begin with the Jakarta Post with this headline, "Time to forgive but not forget." It's an opinion piece that says this year's commemoration, the largest in the past 10 years, should be a reminder that terrorism remains a real threat to our nation. This year will be the last officially organized occasion of its kind, but that is not an excuse to forget the tragedy ever struck our country. In Australia, the Courier Mail has an editorial with this headline, "Ties Forged in Trauma of Terrorism." It looks at Indonesia's comeback from the tragedy, saying it would be easy to conclude that Indonesia was not an ideal destination for tourists, let alone for global investment, but the past 5 years have seen a turnaround. Indonesia's progress on security has enabled other priorities, such as infrastructure and economic development, to flourish. And finally, in Australia, Tony Abbott, the leader of the opposition group in Parliament, has written an editorial for the Sydney Morning Herald. It has this headline, "Bombers brought 2 countries closer in fight against terrorism." He goes on to say, to the extent that terrorists were trying to sow discord and hatred between different peoples and different faiths, they have utterly failed. Australia and Indonesia are closer than ever, and democracy in our region is stronger than ever before. Welcome back. Well, there is no shortage of opinion on the Lance Armstrong doping accusations from all around the world. Amanda Davis joins us here with the latest on the firestorm that has engulfed cycling's biggest star. Amanda.
Yeah, it's certainly one of the stories that's going to go down in sporting history, this one, isn't it? And the fallout does continue, and 5 of Lance Armstrong's former teammates who testified against him again have now in the world of sport.
Lots of money involved as well.
Lots of money for some.
Exactly. All right, Amanda, thank you very much for that. You're watching World One live from London, preparing for touchdown. An emotional journey as Space Shuttle Endeavor heads for its final destination. We'll take you there just ahead. There with more on the final journey. John?
Hey, Monita, so imagine you've been living under a rock here in Los Angeles, and you ever get that you think they're not going to use that for a commercial? It'll be in the Super Bowl, we're convinced.
I know. I can just say, maybe my eye. Come on. You know they're going to use it in a commercial. Seriously.
Absolutely.
Really?
Yep.
I mean, John, thank you very much for that. That'll certainly be a sight that I think everyone's going to take photographs off. The love affair with the spacecraft in America continues. John Zarella there in a very early L.A. morning. Thank you so much. Well, so what's the weather like in L.A. right now? Meteorologist Karen McGinnis is at the World Weather Center with details on that. Karen.
Yeah, and it does look like tomorrow will be the better weather day.
Thank you very much for that. You have yourself a great weekend. You're watching World One live from London. I'm Monita Rajpal. Thank you for joining us. We'll update you the news headlines in just a couple of minutes right here on CNN.